Marketing gets them in. Operations settles them in. And client experience keeps them in. If you're thinking about those three categories as separate entities, each one is a silo that works on its own, then I guarantee you there are some gaps, particularly between your marketing and your operations, that are making things a little more challenging for your new clients and your existing clients than they need to be. Because the truth is, marketing and operations want to work together. They want to be connected. But it's really tempting to think about them separately and to think, well, I know I need to think about my marketing. I know that's something I need to do. Maybe I even need to do some things with marketing. I'll spend some time on it. Maybe I'll even spend some money on it. But first, I'm going to get my operations sorted. Because what is the point, you say to yourself, of getting all these new leads in from my marketing if I don't have the systems to make sure those clients are served in a good way and have a good experience? That's a noble and honorable goal. It is good to make sure that these clients you're bringing in are going to have a good experience. But the challenge with that is that if you separate them and you say, I'm going to do marketing 0% and I'm going to do operations 100%, then the things that help your operations to be better, or the operational things that would help your marketing to be better, are not talking to each other. So then you're going 0 and 100, and then going 0 and 100, and you're going back and forth, and it's staggered, whereas marketing and operations want to be integrated. Because marketing makes the promises. Marketing says, this is who we are. This is what it's like to work with us. This is how it will work. This is what it will cost. This is who you will work with. And operations comes in and delivers on those promises. So if you find yourself beginning to make little tweaks in how you operate, but you haven't put that into your marketing, then you're missing an opportunity to help new clients see what it's like to work with you. Or if you're only looking at your marketing, you're forgetting to share the things that are the reality of how you do business. I worked with an accountancy firm, our company worked with them for over 2 years, and the marketing was so successful. They did the foundational work, they got their brand and their website, and they did the consistent, steady marketing that you're meant to do, the organic kind that brings you the drip feed of clients that you love working with. That is the dream. It is an achievable dream. It often takes a little longer than you expect, but it does work. And it worked for him. It worked so well that he came to me and said, we actually have so many leads that I need to focus on the operations because there's some things that are beginning to creak a little bit, which again is a fair point to make. If you are bringing in the clients but not able to serve them, you do need to pay some attention to that. The problem is, his conclusion was, therefore, I'm going to pause my marketing. I'm just going to put that on pause so I can focus on the operations and systems and get those right. And when it comes to marketing, pause is a fancy word for stop. It means that you think in your head, I'm not going to stop. I'm not. I'm just going to pause. It's like a podcast that I'm playing. I'm just going to hit pause, do a few other things, and then I will come back to it. I can guarantee you all of us at one point or another have paused a podcast, then opened another app, then life, business, whatever, And months later, we've never finished the podcast. We don't even remember what it was we were listening to or whose it was. The same thing can happen to you with marketing if you go to 0% and then try and put all your energy into operations and then go, okay, we've got that sorted. Now we've got to go back over here. And it gets exhausting because you're not considering them together. And because marketing makes the promises and operations delivers on the promises, this is why your brand, your firm's brand, is so important. I would argue it's the most important foundational element to your marketing. If I could spend all day, every day, just on one portion of marketing, it would be brand. And brand isn't just your name, your logo, maybe your colors, a few hex codes. It's all the things that summarize who you truly are. If marketing is going to be its best, it is going to truly and honestly tell people this is who we are. And then when they meet you, it matches. And what happens is, if you haven't paid attention to your brand, there begin to become gaps between who you tell people you are and what is actually happening in the operations and the culture of the business. And those little gaps are small at first. Just a little tiny distance between what you say on your website and what happens when they sign up. Or the video that you post on social and the experience that somebody has. But your business is going to keep changing. That is a good thing. It needs to keep changing. Everything is changing at lightning speeds, and I feel like lightning is getting even faster these days. And everybody wants everything faster. So these gaps begin to spread out until, if you don't pay attention to them, you have a veritable sea of space between what you're saying about yourself and what is the true experience that they're having. And this is why you need to pay attention to your brand, because it goes beyond your name and your logo and maybe your colors. It includes things like your mission, why you exist, your vision, where you're going, your values, what is it that you stand for, what kind of people you work with. Not just small to medium-sized business owners between $500,000 and $2 million who value our services and want to grow. That's everybody's audience. Most of you here would be happy with that kind of business. But that business owner is not going to come to your website and be like, oh my word, they serve small to medium-sized business owners who want to grow. That's me. I feel heard. I feel seen. They're not going to say that. But if you said, we work with female owners of creative agencies who work exclusively with accountants and whose owner is the author of 2 books and is a dual British American citizen, I might be like, oh my word. That is exactly me. How did they do that? That's what you want to do with your marketing. You want them saying, how did they know? I thought it was just me. And that's why your brand goes into deeper things than just, here's our name, here are our colors. It's your mission and your vision and your values and your brand voice. How is it that you speak? Side note, you need to have a company brand voice for your firm, but if you're posting on LinkedIn as the owner or key person of influence, I would suggest you need a LinkedIn voice for yourself. Because unless it is just you, the firm's voice is a little different than your voice. That's a side note. Many of you may not have a brand voice documented. I am working with a firm who came to us to work on some foundational strategy before we begin. We always do that. I know you want to jump in and get things executed, but you need to, in order to take a step forward, You need to say, what is it that we need to focus on? Where are our gaps? And she said, well, we have a mission and vision statement. We have values. We have brand guidelines. I said, great, upload them all. And she did. And we started looking at the values, and they were things like customer service excellence and technological tradition. And I said, that's interesting, because you've told me that you work with construction businesses, and that the thing they love about working with you is that you are very direct. You don't use jargon. You answer their questions sometimes before they even ask it. So I'm not seeing how these values, like, what do you even mean by technological tradition? And she said, I don't really know. We got that from ChatGPT. Which is fine. That's no problem. I use ChatGPT all the time. But if what ChatGPT is giving you is something that you don't understand, how in the world is your audience going to understand? How in the world are they going to say, oh my word, that's like meeting them in person? Your website ought to do so much of the work for you that by the time they meet you, they already know 70% of what they need to know. They want to do that research before they talk to you. So you need to consider all those brand pieces. So as we dug into her values, we realized that what she meant about technology was the impact that it had, the accuracy of the results she gave her clients, and the expediency of getting that as quickly as possible. So if there is a tech or an AI tool that will provide accuracy with expediency, she's all for it. But if there's a new tech that everybody's raving about that's not quite delivering the accurate results, she's going to research it a bit more. That's what she was trying to get across. So we said, well, why don't we just change that to accuracy and expediency? That's what's important. That's the kind of thing that you dig into in your brand. Things like colors. We have a firm we're working with who had some brand work done before they came to us and asked, I'm not quite sure about this color. I'm not sure if that's the right color for our audience, which I thought was an excellent point. This isn't, do I like purple? Do I think yellow is a great color? This is, what color is going to bring up the emotions and feelings for my ideal audience and help them feel safe and comfortable? Just a side note, there's color research that shows that certain shades of colors can make us feel anxious. If the yellow you're using or the green that you're using is at that level, people can feel a bit tense on your website and they don't even know why. This is why things like color matter. And they matter all connected together so that the person you want to work with, your ideal client, feels safe and comfortable and educated and understands what to do next. So the reason these things are so critical to look at is because, as I mentioned before, you've got these potential gaps between what you're telling people about yourself and the you that you truly are. And when you identify those gaps, then you can figure out what it is that you need to create. Now, we've created a brand assessment that you can take. I'll come back to that in a minute. We've created, it's just a 9 or 10 question to identify a couple gaps that you may have, and it also includes a personalized video review of your website. Now, some of you are like, oh, golly, please don't look at it. If that's the case, you definitely need it. I mean, you may as well know. But the point is, your website is one of those assets that is available to people. And if there are some gaps there that you could fill, when we send you that video, we'll take 5 to 7 minutes, review your website as somebody who hasn't seen it before, and say, here's a few things that struck out. You may want to adjust the wording here. You may want to move this there. It's these small things that begin to narrow that gap until the connection between marketing and operations is not that far. Because it is very, very tempting to focus on operations because it feels safe to you. Working on systems, sitting there in your Engager app and making sure that all these things are organized can feel a little more comfortable than whatever in marketing that you don't even know. I've had multiple accountants in the last week tell me, I hate marketing, or marketing makes me feel very nervous. And I always just ask, well, what is it about marketing that caused you to feel that way? And multiple accountants, again, in the last week have said, well, social media. I don't like social media. I don't want to be on social media. It seems like everybody's humble brag or boasting, or I don't even know. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. And I said, well, what if we took social media out? Would you still hate marketing? And they're like, oh, no, that'd be fine. That'd be okay. Social media is only one tiny part of marketing. So if there's an aspect of marketing that's making you feel nervous, go back to your operations. Go back to your place that you know. What is it that you know about your firm, and how can you share that with your audience in a way that helps them feel like they know you before they know you? Do you have a page on your website that says, this is how we work? This is what happens first and next. Do you have any information on your website that says, this is how we approach pricing? Here are pictures or videos of our team. This is who you will meet with. Those are all operational things. And if you could just share some of those with people in your marketing, then both of them are better. So one of the things that you could do, because your brand is making those promises, then you can connect the marketing thing to the operations thing. So if in marketing you're saying, we're promised to listen to you and advise you, then operations says, we will make sure there's an in-person meet or a Zoom meet every quarter, and we will review your prices at that time. It's a good thing to do. And for tracking, we're going to track this by also sending you an NPS survey or some questionnaire to just see how your client experience is. And then you get people to fill in a Google review or something to say, I had a really good experience. And you take that and you put that on your website. You've just taken the experience they had, moved it through operations, and delivered it to marketing. They're all beginning to connect because that is what they want to do. Marketing wants to tell people how the operations will be, and operations wants to take how things actually are and show it to people. So you can take this very short assessment, 10 questions. You can tick the box for the website review if you want that, and we will help you identify just a few gaps that you could begin to look at. There's loads of things that we can help with beyond that. We help with strategy, execution, and tracking. And if you want to do the implementation and tracking yourself, we can just help you with the strategy. But you've got to figure out where your gaps are between your marketing and your operations so that you can fill them. Because that's what they want to do. It's what you ultimately want. And most of all, it's what your clients want. Thank you.